Good evening, Mizzou fans. Welcome in to State of the Tigers, the show where we entertain you for a little while by talking about absolutely everything we can other than the ongoing Missouri basketball season. We will get to that with Drew King in just a minute. I'm going to bring Jarod Hamilton in a little bit later on. But as always, want to call your attention to James Carlton, State Farm Insurance. James is our sponsor for this show every week, and I just hit the wrong button, but I'm going to get his banner up here shortly. Right there, James Carlton, top of the top corner, left corner of your screen. CarltonInsurance.net is his website. You can get him on the phone at 314-961-4800. If you still use Facebook, facebook.com/Carlton Insurance. James wants to take care of all your insurance needs. I'm actually talking to him on Monday afternoon about taking a look at all of our policies and seeing if maybe he can save us a little money. I'm optimistic he can. If he can't save you money, he still wants to give you a quote, talk to you a little bit about it, and help out Mizzou's name, image, and likeness efforts in the process. So certainly encourage you to do that. Business taken care of. We now have more business to take care of. We'll bring Drew King on to the screen to get some of that done. Drew, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Nothing much. Coming through crisp and clear for me, Gabe. So I like that you got the new webcam going, and
Well, the new webcam's not yet going, but the new light
the light.
shines.
Okay.
I should probably wear a hat. It might be a little bright for our viewers. They can handle the brightness on their screens.
Makes sense.
You know, some of us are follically challenged.
Follically challenged. I haven't heard that before. All right, Gabe's mic went out, so the webcam's working great, but the microphone's not. I can vamp here for a second unless he's got the mic working now.
No?
Sort of. There you go. Now it is.
Okay, well, we'll see how long it lasts. I think I'm going to also need a new microphone. It's just going to be a whole equipment overhaul.
Yeah.
I got a new cord. I'm not sure it's working, but whatever. We'll go with it until I have to switch mics. So we're going to stick with this for now. Like I said, hey, Missouri plays some basketball games. Rumor has it they play Ole Miss in Oxford on Saturday. Whatever happens is going to happen. Most of the team is injured. Is that correct? What I picked up this morning from Dennis Gates?
Most of the team's still injured. Jesus Carolero Martin supposed to be back, which he had to miss the second half of last Saturday's game. We've got Sean East practicing minimally, and they're going to kind of test him out over the next couple of days and see if he can get ready to go.
My guess is no.
I'm gonna guess no as well, but you never know. Caleb Grill still out. Dennis said that he's got kind of a setback with his wrist where like he can't finish a practice without it swelling up or him being in pain. So that doesn't seem ideal.
They've got 3 weeks left in the season. Why would he play at this point?
Great question. And then lastly, you got Trent Pierce, who is still dealing with an ear infection, still like can't fly to places because of the ear infection. They're talking about like he might need a procedure to help him recover from that, which sounds like maybe he won't be back for the rest of this season. So yeah, like just all around banged up. They did have this whole week off, so everybody should be a little bit fresher, but yeah, it's still like hard times for the Tigers.
Yeah. Started the season with 27 guys. By the end of the year, might be down to 4.
Yeah.
He'll go full Gene Hackman and Hoosiers. My team is on the floor. But look, we're not here to preview the games and talk about the games. I mean, we could, but I don't know how many of you guys are here for that. Quick basketball question, though. Adam asked who Mizzou will take with the number 1 overall pick. I feel like that's how it should work. I don't really know how you force kids to go to a certain school, but there should be some sort of reward for being really bad to increased parity.
So I actually think it's the opposite, Gabe. I think that there should be it should kind of be like relegation in European soccer, where like the bad teams move down a conference and the good ones move up. Like that's what I'm more in favor of here. But if they had to take somebody with the number 1 overall pick, why not like you know could you get like Caitlin Clark to move to the men's side of the court?
I wouldn't be bad. I think it has to be Zach Edey for this team, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
tough to stop him.
yeah, I'd be happy with it. And do encourage you guys, questions, comments, whatever you got, put them in the queue. We'll get to them. We will get to a form of relegation and changing the way college basketball has always worked momentarily. We call this the Drew King endorsed plan of hideousness in college basketball. We'll talk about it in a minute. But first, so I saw this like an hour ago on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
There's supposed to be a basketball game between Fairleigh Dickinson and Long Island University tonight, which is being delayed. It may have started since I saw this, but was at the time I saw it being delayed because the Fairleigh Dickinson players were stuck in an elevator from the locker room to the court. And there are firemen trying to open the elevator so the Fairleigh Dickinson players can come out and play the game. First of all, why is the locker room not on the same level as the court? That's the first thing I want.
Yeah,
I've never been a place where that's the case.
So I've heard of places where like you got to go up and down stairs to get to the locker room, and so credit to Fairleigh Dickinson for having an elevator in that situation, I guess. But yeah, you're right. Like it's kind of interesting that it's not on the same floor as the court.
I mean, the places I've seen, it's like like at Vandy, there were like 6 stairs.
Mm-hmm.
Or 10 stairs. You don't need an elevator for that. You can take 10 stairs. So I've got to imagine it's a full floor.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. My only guess is like they didn't build the gym wide enough, so they had to build the gym up. If that makes any sense.
I mean, I guess, but yeah, but I guess it does. But I'm not really, if I'm being honest, but I see what you're saying. So before we get into like, I'm trying to think of things that would be like more terrible, but you told me you have a story that relates to this situation.
I do. So my senior year of college, I got assigned to the Texas women's basketball beat for the Daily Texan. And the first story I ever wrote about them, I just wanted to like go and introduce myself to some coaches and players, right? So I found out that they had taken a summer trip to Italy, and I was going to go ask them questions about this trip. And so while they were out in Italy, one of their players, Ariel Atkins, who's an all-star for the Washington Mystics now, she actually spent the first part of the trip in Tokyo playing for the Team USA like under 21 team. And so she had been out there. She comes back to Italy and she's in the hotel waiting for the team to come back from wherever they were at. And the players find out Ariel's here, right? And they all cram into this elevator that was meant for about 5 people, right? So there's 11 people in the elevator. They get stuck. It's in the middle of summer. There's no air conditioning in the elevator. They're on there for 45 minutes, right? And I really tried hard to find the photo of it. It's out there floating in the internet somewhere, but like everybody is like beaming in sweat. And like you could see it's just like draining their faces. And they also like you could tell they couldn't really like move their arms at all because that's how close they were to each other. So
that it would be tough to play basketball if you couldn't move your arms. By the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I remember Brooke McCarty. She's 5'6", I want to say, like,
right.
and is next to like some 6-foot basketball players. I couldn't imagine like not being able to move.
So this brings up an interesting. I hadn't thought about this. Do we think like the entire Fairleigh Dickinson team was trying to get on one elevator, and this is what caused? Because like I've gotten in an elevator and I see the signs that say like weight limit. But I've never really thought about it. Just you put a certain number of people in, and then the people waiting outside understand, it's too many people there. I'm probably not going to cram on with people I don't know. But if you already know everybody on the elevator, maybe just all 14 of them or whatever, however many it is, we're just like, hey, we're all going to do this.
Right. Maybe they were running late, and that's why they all crammed on. I don't know. It's a great question, though. I will also say, like, getting stuck on an elevator is my mom's worst fear. Like, she's deathly
Right.
claustrophobic, and so not being able to like see through a window, she's not a big fan of that.
Yeah, I know. My wife feels kind of the same way about elevators. I'm trying to think. I kind of want to see Connor Vanover and Mabor Majak in an elevator. Like Connor Vanover might have to duck to get in a regular. I don't
Yeah,
know how tall those are, but
I was the one at Mizzou. I think like the top of his head would probably hit the ceiling if he stood
yeah.
up straight. So yeah, I
So
mean,
Freeway
cramp.
Jared with the suggestion that Mizzou Arena elevator malfunction might prevent Missouri from good next Tuesday when Tennessee comes to town. Now, you know, and I know that Missouri does not have to take an elevator to get from its locker room to the arena, to the court. However, is it a valid excuse if things aren't going well at halftime? Maybe, sorry, my guys are stuck in an elevator. We can't play.
They were coming in from the
Do we think
parking
this would
lot,
work?
yeah, trying to get downstairs, and I mean, it's not the worst excuse they could come up with.
I mean, I'm sure there are probably better ones. I feel like we're kind of past the point where you can just go, sorry, we have COVID.
Right.
Like that was the get out of jail free card for a long time, but
Hmm.
I don't feel like it works as well anymore. So, I mean, I don't know if Fairleigh Dickinson's any good or not. They had actual firemen there, so I don't want to say that Fairleigh Dickinson was making this up because I don't think they were. But
Right.
it's maybe like our locker room doors locked from the outside and we can't get out, but then somebody could just come unlock it.
Right. That's the issue.
Yeah.
Um, like everybody on the team suddenly has sore knees and like they don't want to risk it, maybe.
Yeah. The best excuse, it wouldn't work for the players, but for us, where we park at Mizzou Arena, the best excuse is clearly that hill's so icy I can't make it up.
Yes.
Because it's been like there have been some questionable times walking up and down that hill. I feel like that might actually be a valid
Yeah,
excuse.
that's a pretty big risk for us if we're being honest.
All right, so we've
Can
got
I
some
use that as an
Mizzou guys.
excuse to
Yes. I mean, it is a little weather dependent. If it's
Right.
like 46 degrees on Tuesday night and you tell me that the hill is too icy, I don't think I'm gonna buy it.
What if I'm like, Gabe, it was leg day. The hill's too much for me this time.
Well, no, that's definitely not gonna work. I'll have some names for it, but you could be like, look, they were power washing the hill
Right.
and all the water there froze or something. I don't know. We'll workshop it.
Sounds good.
Let's see. All right. So we have some actual basketball questions we will get to real quick. Connor wants to know, is there an ETA on Caleb Grill's injury? We talked about it a little bit. I think he's done. I don't think he's going to play again this year.
Yeah, to answer
Right?
you, Connor, like, no, there isn't an ETA on his injury. They said that they haven't shut him down for the season, but like you said, Gabe, it's going to be a big surprise if he comes back at this point. And unless like he wants this to be his last season of college, right?
Right.
And
And he just
he's
wants,
gonna,
even if it's one
right?
or two games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be surprised if he came back.
Kyle wants to know, is there reason for concern next year if Gates brings back guys like Kurt Lewis and Jesus Carolero? I mean, look, it's his roster. If he thinks those guys can help him win, he can certainly do it. But I just don't see any situation where he goes into next season with fewer than 2 or 3 transfer portal spots available. Right?
Yeah.
I can't see him taking 14 scholarship guys into May.
Right. So if you're going to hold on to Kurt Lewis and Jesus Carolero Martin, like you better have Hunter Dickinson coming in, right? Like you got to have that kind of star caliber player joining them. Otherwise, like it's going to take a couple of transfers to turn things around, and you do kind of need to open up some roster spots. And so, like it's tough to for sure know whether those guys are going to be on the team moving forward.
Right. All right. So now we'll get to the real look. Like we said, this basketball season is what it is. So they're talking about, I think, a little more seriously now than they had previously been talking about expanding the NCAA tournament. The only two people that I know that are heavily in favor of this are Dennis Gates and you. Dennis Gates is not on this show, so I can't. It's all I've heard. Everybody else has the correct opinion. So because Dennis Gates is not on this show, I just want to give you, whether it takes 15 seconds or 15 minutes, you have the stage first to try to convince me this is a good idea that they should add more teams to the NCAA tournament. And then I will tell you why you're wrong.
Okay, sounds good. So let me start by explaining why it's going to expand, right? The Power 5 commissioners already feel like they are not getting enough teams into the tournament. Next year, they're going to
I'm going to write this down so I can refute every point. Go ahead.
No, okay, no, and I'll agree with you on some of these points here, but I'm telling you how it is, right? The Power 5 commissioners already feel like they're not getting enough
sounded
teams.
Like you were talking to a 4-year-old. I know what you're saying, but I'm just going to tell you why you're wrong.
Yes. Okay. So they don't feel like they're getting enough teams in. Next year, they're going to have even more teams. Like they're going to expand to 16 team conferences, and they're not going to be happy when half of their league isn't getting in, right? Like they're not going to put up with that. It's going to put the selection committee in some kind of tough spots, maybe, possibly. Like if you have to decide between UCLA and Indiana, like, and there's only room for one of them, might be kind of tough. So inevitably, like expansion is going to happen. How I would like to see it work is where you have both regular season and conference tournament champions get an automatic bid, right? And what that would do is add stakes to the regular season, which it does not have now, right? Like Gabe, you always talk about the season doesn't really start till February for college basketball. That's an issue. If you were to add some stakes to conference play where the number one seed, the regular season champion automatically gets their ticket punched, like that adds some drama to everything. And then on top of that, if you were to win your regular season and tournament championships, I think you should get kind of a bye in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So my ideal number would be 96 teams, right? You have 64 have kind of a play-in game, and then 32 have that first bye. So thank you, Jarod.
I want to clear, I am writing these points down 100%.
Yeah. But and on top of that, the reason I also think that the regular season championship should get an automatic bid is because without it, it excludes a lot of good mid-major teams. I wrote in my column today about North Texas, right? North Texas had a really good season, won 30 plus games, and didn't win the Conference USA tournament, missed out on an NCAA tournament bid, but then went on to win the NIT, right? And I think ended up with 35 wins on the season. And on their way, beat an Oklahoma State team that was 20-16 and is probably going to be the type of team that gets in with whatever this Power 5 commissioner's ideas are, right? So I think that had it happened earlier, that's how I would have wanted to see it go. It's not going to happen that way anymore, Gabe. Like it's going to be how they did the NIT this year, where only the Power 5 conferences get automatic bids, and then everybody else gets at-larges, which I, for the record, am not a fan of.
You're talking about the NIT there?
Yes, that's how they're doing the NIT this year.
Okay. So you feel like your case has been made?
Yeah, I feel
That was
like.
about 4 minutes.
All right.
Okay. Real quick before the refutation gets underway, Freeway
Yeah.
Jarod said he didn't get his wife a Valentine's Day gift because he spent all his money on super chats. I don't know if she appreciates that, but we appreciate it, Jarod.
Yeah,
We appreciate you being here every week and helping us.
Happy Valentine's Day, Jarod.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day to Mrs. Freeway too. So tell her.
Yeah.
Tell her I hope she enjoyed not having a gift. Okay. So I want to start this in order. Not enough Power 5 teams. That's stupid. I've never seen a Power 5 team that I thought, oh man, I'd really like to see that team that lost in the second round of the NIT to Eastern Michigan. I'd really like to see them. No, I don't want to see any more.
Agree with you there.
Too much of our conference is going to miss the tournament. Maybe quit adding 87 teams to your conference. Piss off. Let the Pac-12 exist. Let the other teams go back to the conferences they should belong in. Quit thinking only of yourself and ruining many of the things about college sports, Power 5 commissioners. So that's taken care of. Okay, so I'm on board with you. I'm on board with your plan of if you tell me it has to expand, then I'm on board. Regular season champ is that's where it has to go. I don't think that's where it will go because your first 2 points are at direct odds with it, right? Like there's never, ever been a Power 5 conference team that has won its regular season championship and not gotten an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament. Like it doesn't happen. So all those teams are in. So they don't give a damn about the rest of the teams. They're not doing this to get North Texas in the NCAA tournament. They're doing this to get 17 and 15 regular Texas in the NCAA tournament. They don't care about North Texas. They'll talk nice like they do. And then North Texas will show up and they'll change the locker combination and shove them out in the cold and say, no, you go win the NIT that even fewer people care about. So if that was the way it was going to happen, I would be marginally okay with it. That's the only reason you can possibly expand. Now, you said if you win your regular season championship and the tournament, you should get a bye. Here's what I want.
Yeah.
If you win your regular season and your conference tournament, you actually get to play in the tournament as double elimination.
Okay.
Now you have to lose. I mean, I don't really want this, but as long as we're doing stupid shit and wrecking the best sporting event of the entire year, just, hey, if you win them both, awesome. You get double elimination because that gives you incentive to actually show up and play in the conference tournament, which I don't think anybody that wins a real conference actually has incentive. But here's what this all comes down to me. Has there ever in the history of the NCAA basketball tournament been a team that did not make the NCAA basketball tournament that you thought, yeah, they can win 6 games?
Probably not, no.
Ever. Never. We don't need more teams. It works great. And look, I agree. The regular season is meaningless. I am fully on board with give the bid to the regular season champion. But they won't do that because ESPN pays $11 billion to carry all these conference tournaments. And why is anybody going to watch if it doesn't mean anything?
Right. So to your previous point about like, has anybody who didn't make the tournament, could they have won 6 games? The answer is no. But I also think that's only like one part of what makes the tournament fun, right? Like what makes
the Final Four is the worst part of the tournament. I agree.
Yeah. Right. And so like expanding it just means you're going to have more chaos, right? Like you're going to see more Purdue's get taken down by a 16 seed. Because like I wrote this in my column, like, you know, the year that St. Peter's made their big run to the Elite Eight, they didn't win the regular season championship that year. I think it was Rick Pitino's Iona team that won the MAAC that season,
So,
right?
Let me take a guess here, though. If we're talking about a 96 team tournament, that's probably what we're talking about, right? So that is 4 regions because it has to be 4 regions. You can't change that. It is the Final Four. It has to be 4 regions. So you're talking 24 teams. So I think what you're actually going to get is the top 8 seeds in each region are going to get a bye. So you're going to have like the you're going to have like the 9 seed versus the 24 seed or whatever. So I don't think we're going to get to see any more of those. I think you're going to have like a 16 versus a 17. Maybe I'm wrong, but
yeah, but I mean, like it would still be like North Texas going up against Oklahoma State in the NCAA instead of the NIT. Like that's still not a
that's an
bad
NIT game.
matchup.
That's an NIT game in the
It's
NCAA tournament. I mean, you can take the Sun Bowl and tell me it's a playoff game, but like if it's LSU and 7-5 LSU and 7-5 Notre Dame, it's still the Sun Bowl.
No, and I'll agree with you there. Like the last thing that I want is more matchups with middling Power 5 teams, right? Like I don't want more Ole Miss versus who's another team like Iowa
Cincinnati.
State.
Maybe
Yeah,
Cincinnati's
like,
good. I don't know.
Right. Like we don't necessarily need more of that, but I do want a little bit more madness, Gabe, because I do think there's some really good mid-major teams out there who don't get their due because of how the process is rigged. And so I'll make this point here. That's why I think the tournament should have expanded sooner. I think that some of these mid-major teams should have pushed to get it expanded sooner because now like it's not going to go their way because it didn't expand.
Right. And like Kyle says, a huge upset loses its luster when it's 500 LSU beating it. Like there's no such thing as a Cinderella Power 5 team, right? Like when UConn wins the national title as an 8 seed, hey, that's cool. They did better than they thought, but it's still freaking UConn.
Yeah.
So this doesn't, if they were going to do it the way you're talking about, I'd be okay with it, but that's probably not how they're going to do it. T-Rise really asked the valid question. How many teams have to get in for Mizzou to go winless the rest of the year and make the tournament?
Let me look. That's a great question, T-Rise. I'm going to look to see where
they're
Mizzou...
they're 145th or so in Ken Palm right now.
Right. I was going to see if there's like other Power 5 teams that are lower than them.
There are at least 5. I looked them up the other day. There's at least 5 teams below.
So there's your answer, right? Like how many Power 5 teams are there? Like 64 or something like that?
Something like
that.
60.
Yeah. So it'd have to expand to 60 Power 5 teams plus whatever mid-majors they want to include. So probably 128.
And yeah, they're going to be. So if they double the tournament size, it is possible Mizzou makes.
Yes. Correct.
But
which is what Dennis Gates wants, by the way.
I know. We're talking about going halfway to that already. Like, are you on Ken Palm right now?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Who's the number 96 Ken Palm team?
Number 96 right now. Oh, not a Power 5 team. Akron from the MAC.
Akron.
That's what I'm saying, Gabe.
What's their record?
Akron right now is 18-6.
That's what I want. 18-6 Akron in the NCAA tournament. That just screams March Madness to me.
Hey, they're leading the MAC so far.
Well, good. Then they've got their chance to get in, win the MAC tournament.
But that's the point, Gabe. Like, do you want less Farley Dickinson?
Give me the closest Power 5 team around Akron.
Around Akron. It is probably Indiana, number 98.
Indiana fans are disgusted with their season. Like they got blown out. They blew a huge lead to somebody. I'm not going to pretend I paid 1 second of attention to Indiana basketball, but I know they're disgusted with their season. They're something like 14-10. Is that right?
I think so. Let me look at the screen again. I keep flipping back and forth. They are 14-10 right now. Correct.
14-10 Indiana. Let's get them in, baby. Got to have that. What a terrible tournament. All right, so feel free to go in the comments, guys, and let us know who's right here. And just remember, I sign the checks. Don't let that influence anybody's vote. But
okay, so Gabe, I see a comment over here on the side. Can you pull up Connor's comment? Do you see it there?
Okay. Yes.
Jackson
State.
I brought this up before. Like everybody's joking about how Dennis Gates said all these non-conference teams they lost to are going to make the tournament. I don't know if you've checked the SWAC standings recently, but Jackson State is up there. Like there's a chance that they actually are an NCAA tournament team. I'm just throwing that out there. Like Dennis Gates might end up being right about everything.
Well, not about his own team, maybe some other teams, but not about his own team. But all right, I'm going to further prove your point wrong. Okay, Jackson State is, first of all, Jackson State has fallen to 6-5 and 5th in the SWAC.
Well,
10 and 14 overall. They're not making the NCAA tournament. But
that I haven't looked at the SWAC standings recently.
Okay, but let's say, for argument's sake, that Jackson State wins the SWAC tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
They go on a run and they win. Then, under your amazing scenario where the tournament and the regular season champion get in, we put in 15-9 Southern. Southern's best. Southern beat Mississippi State this year, 60-59. So good for them. They lost to TCU by 33, Arizona by 38, Western Illinois by 8, regular Illinois by 28, Valpo by 12, Marquette by 37, Tulane by 24. They beat a thing called Wiley. I don't know if that's a college or university.
It's not a D1 college.
Okay, they beat something called Ecclesia. This is the team we're stumping to get an NCAA tournament.
Again, like they beat Mississippi State, Gabe. I don't know what to tell you.
They're 14-9 against a pile of crap in their other 23.
They were 1-6 their first 7 games and are now 14-3 since then. Like it's a change of the season here. Maybe they had some guys injured early on.
Ecclesia and Wiley don't count. You can't have it. So we're bringing Jarod on this. Jarod, break the tie, man. Break the tie. Where are we at here?
Oh my goodness, y'all got me cracking up. They beat a thing called Wiley. Okay, Drew was making some great points early on. I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you.
I was feeling it, but then I'm a very logical person. So when Gabe starts spitting his logic,
you're gonna agree with me.
When Gabe starts spitting his logic about how, like, once he said the Indiana point, like 14, what'd you say, 14-10 Indiana? Like, you almost got me with the Akron part, the 18-6, because I'm like, yeah, but then I thought about it, and Gabe said, then they need to win the MAC. And then I started thinking, well, yeah, they do need the MAC. And if they lose the MAC, I'm thinking, well, the MAC champion's already enough. I'm not going to act like when I watch the tournament, I'm thinking I want a whole lot of MAC teams in there, unless it's just like, crazy, crazy record. So I'm going to say Gabe edges you out just by a little bit, but I think you made some great points, Drew. But didn't it just expand not too long ago? Like
they added 4 teams about 15 years ago, maybe, for the play-in games. Yeah. And I would get fired up for the Tuesday night play-in game between Alabama A&M and Southeastern Texas Tech. That's always a big night.
Those weren't the team. Those teams were already in before, though. Like the teams that they added in were Mississippi State and Pitt.
Right. What this is really about is getting Wiley College in the NCAA tournament.
That's not.
That's happening.
I'm pretty sure. Go ahead.
You don't think they can make it?
Wiley is an NAIA school from Texas. They're not going to make the NCAA tournament.
Need them in. Need enough teams to get Wiley in. All right. So we'll finish crossover segment with this. The bet of the over under a couple weeks ago was what happens first: Drew wins 1-on-1 or Mizzou wins a basketball game. Mizzou has not won a basketball game. Drew, are you on a winning streak yet?
So to answer the question, no.
Okay.
Jarod and I have only played 1-on-1 once, and just the one time. Twice. No, just the one time.
Well, regardless if it was the one time.
Well, I think
I felt like twice on the same day.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Okay.
And Jarod hit like every floater that he threw up there. It was disgusting. Since then,
Drew, have you considered making Jarod take an elevator from the locker room to the court before the 1-on-1 matchup?
That's a great idea, Gabe, because then
I
could be like, wow, Jarod's scared. He didn't even show up. He wouldn't.
Jarod. By the time Jarod showed up, I'd already scored 9 times.
Yeah,
it was 9-0 when he got there.
We not worried, Drew.
Now I'll also throw out, not to ruffle any feathers, but like Jarod's beaten me 1-on-1, but only one of us has nutmegged the other in game and then hit a mid-range jump shot. You want to guess who that was?
Well, I'm going to guess it wasn't him if you're bringing it up.
Oh, well, Gabe, I'm glad he brought it up. Since you want to be a funny guy. So this first game that Drew, it was a nice nutmeg. I was on him. He nutmegged me. I'm not gonna lie. Caught it. Did a mid-range J, and he won that game. Right. We were playing 21, by the way. I forgot who else we was playing with.
Chris.
We were playing 3 more games of 21, and I won all of them by destroying them because Drew wanted to be a funny guy and used me to be a part of his highlight tape.
Now look.
So, congratulations.
I got to see the Drew King highlight reel. That's the power of Mizzou.
We'll get it done, Jarod. We'll bring a camera to one of these games. But listen, like there's been plenty of wins and losses since me and Jarod started playing together, but there's only been one nutmeg, Gabe. Okay. Just one. Okay. I'll put it down. That's all I'll say about that.
All right, man.
I also want to bring up because I know y'all are going to talk about this later.
I can just leave here. You guys can finish this up. Tell me when you're done. I'll cut it up on the podcast.
Well, because Jarod, I know that y'all are about to talk about NCAA football a little bit.
Yeah.
And so here's all I want to say about it, right? And I think the chat will agree with me here. NCAA football is one of the greatest sports video games ever created. There's a reason people still play it even after it's had this 11-year hiatus. Jarod and I have played against each other in NCAA football, and I beat Jarod so bad that he's convinced that it's not a good video game. That's how bad I beat him, Gabe.
Gabe, get him off the screen so I can tell my side. Listen. I tackled his player on the ground, not one of those his hand touch. I tackled his player fully on the ground. The player got back up, continued running, and I think scored, and the game kept going as if he never. Once I seen that, that's all I needed to know.
Michael Dyer did that in a national title game one time.
I didn't have a knee down, no elbows.
You had the entire body. No.
I also want to. I have a quote from Matt Stahl, kind of a neutral party to the whole thing. He said, Jarod is talking real big, given he's the worst NCAA 14 player I've ever seen pick up a controller.
Gabe, you see how he's grasping for straws to say he beat me?
That's not anything. That's a professional journalist.
Drew, I don't care. I was destroying both of you two on the court when we played Gabe, I bought UFC specifically for Drew and then proceeded to tap him out like 4 times in a row in a game I haven't played. I don't want to hear this, Drew. Gabe, it's time for football.
You see how he changes the subject, Gabe? We're talking about NCAA. Yeah, we're talking about football.
I thought this was real life UFC. I thought we had it. I thought you guys had a steel cage match happening. So. All right. Well, everybody's asking for the Drew King highlight reel, so we're gonna let Drew go to put together his huddle tape.
Okay.
And throw it up.
We're playing tomorrow, so we might have some clips to show.
Report back. I'll send you guys the StreamYard link. You can do your own show.
Okay, sounds good.
It's hugely popular. All right, have a good one. All right, so that's Drew King. I don't know what the hell that was for the last 20 minutes, but it's not going to get any better if I'm being honest, because nothing's really happening in football. So I've got an NCAA football video game story. I've not played this game in years and years, but in college it was our thing. This would have been like NCAA like 97. Like we're not talking about the modern stuff, but so my friends and I were hanging out at his apartment out in South Columbia, and we're playing this video game. It's like 1:30 in the morning. We're playing this video game. All of a sudden, all the power goes out in the place. Everything's off. TV shuts off. Comes back on like 2 seconds later. Game is still going. Game did not shut down. What happened was there was a tornado that knocked out the power in South Columbia. So our video game made it through a tornado and did not get reset. And that's my proudest NCAA football moment.
I just told you the time the game cheated me, which is when I was playing Drew a few months ago on terrible NCAA 14. It's terrible. But I'll tell you a Madden story that still sticks to me real quick. I was playing Mutt, and for those who know, it's Madden Ultimate Team. You basically make your own team full of players from different rosters or whatever, full of legends and stuff. And I made it to the Super Bowl. And this is Madden 25. So when you get to the Super Bowl of it, you're playing in MetLife Stadium because that was the year of the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And so when you're playing your Super Bowl, it may not be the person online Super Bowl. And so, but everybody will know it's your Super Bowl because of the stadium. It's a giveaway. So I'm playing, and I forgot how many minute quarters, maybe like 4-minute quarters or whatever. But the other guy, I think he gets the ball first, and somehow he took one possession and used the entire half to score. So I didn't get the ball, which is near impossible in Madden. He scored. I didn't score on mine after halftime, which was basically my only possession, and he wasted the clock. Gabe, I felt like my girlfriend broke up with me. Like I was hurt for a couple days in real life because of how he cheated. Couldn't get over it.
That was Kyle Shanahan's plan in the Super Bowl. He thought he was going to keep that ball for 60 minutes. Chiefs were never touching the ball. He was going to win 22-19 with a 60-minute overtime possession. All right. Yeah. So, but like you played the old college football video games, right?
Yeah.
All right. So did you have like a team, or were you just like randomly just start up with different?
I had one college football, and I can't even remember what year it is. Maybe it was like 08, 09 or something like that. But I remember whenever West Virginia had Steve Slayton and Pat White, because I remember the speed option, and that wasn't something in Madden games often, like the option thing. So I was running that thing to death and just racking up touchdowns with them. But I didn't have too many of the college football games, but that was a great duo.
Yeah, see, the only time I'm old enough, the only time I played college football, like dynasty mode, that stuff, that didn't exist. You just kind of played with teams, like recruiting, all that stuff, that didn't exist. So the greatest football player in video game history is Tecmo Bowl, Bo Jackson, and nobody will ever be that good at anything in their lives ever. So all right, we did want to open this up, and if you guys got football questions, kind of let us know what you want to know. We'll do kind of almost a mailbag, just kind of answer your questions on football, because there's not that much happening. Recruiting is in a dead period. Corey Batoon, we assume he's alive. We haven't talked to him, so we don't know. We're trying, we're asking. It's not for lack of effort. Whenever we get to talk to him, you guys will certainly get to read those words. So if there are things you guys want to know about Mizzou football, let us know. We're going to start. I know Jarod's going to start some spring football stories and stuff next week. We don't really know when spring football starts yet. We know it ends on March 16th. We don't know when it starts. We'll probably find that out that morning, and Jarod will hustle over cover practice because that's the way things go. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'll start off. So any questions you guys have about spring ball? I just finished writing up some storylines. 5 storylines I'm looking at for this spring ball whenever it starts. Like you said, we don't really know, but that'll come out Sunday morning. So I'll pick one of them and we just chat about that for a bit, I guess. So one of them is just say defensive ends. No Johnny Walker. Then defensive end number 2, 3, and 4, really a crapshoot. I mean, they've got the Elias Williams, they got Jaylen Brown, obviously Williams Neri coming in. Then they've got some guys who were transfers last year, didn't play too much, but they had their moments, like Joe Moore and Austin Firestone. Then you got the new guys, the transfers, Zion Young and Darius Smith from Georgia. Where do you kind of plug these guys in? Gabe, what's your guess? And I'll tell you what my guess of the top 4 DNs will be.
I think it's Johnny Walker and a transfer. I put in my mailbag, Darius Smith might be the guy that kind of surprises, but if I had to pick between him and Zion Young to be the more likely starter, I would go with Zion Young right now. I don't really know why, just because he's played a little bit more at the college level than Darius Smith had. But dude, I want to give you credit. Like, you got that roster on lockdown. That's when you've been covering a team for a minute, is like you can just start naming off guys. Now the way they do it every year, it takes me like 3 weeks to get into practice. I'll show up. I'll pick one guy every year, and like I'll see him every day, and I'll go like, who's number 11? And you'd be like, did you ask me that the last 6 days? And I just forget him every time. So anyway.
I'll say, Johnny Walker, obviously. I'll probably go Zion Young. Number 3.
I mean, Williams Nwaneri is going to be on the 2
He was gonna say, I was gonna say he's gonna be my 4th one, and that's only because we haven't seen nothing, just because he's a 5-star. I assume he's gonna play off of that
He's going to
alone.
play.
But if he's not panning out, and I'm not saying he won't, but if something's not panning out super early on, they may give him reps and then kind of take it back and
because he's still going to play.
Yeah, he's gonna play.
I mean, you don't in the day of free agency, you don't sign guys to big contracts and not play them.
No. I know he'll play, but I'm just saying, let's say the first couple of games he's not giving what you want, or maybe you still need some season. Like Tristan Newsom, he was the talk of spring football last year, and then you didn't really see it through fall camp, through the season, and then towards the end of the year, he's defensive player of the week for the conference. So it comes along. But Connor actually kind of took a person I was thinking of, Ja'Kai Lang. I remember, talking to us, here in the summer, that was a guy they were kind of happy with. Obviously they want to see the development and stuff like that, but it's kind of a different year because last year we had the same exact question: who are the defensive ends?
And now they go first rounder at defensive end.
Yeah, so the answer to that was moving a defensive tackle to defensive end, and then just hoping that someone stepped up, and Johnny Walker did. They don't have the luxury of the first part. I don't think they're not going to move. Who's it? Marquise Gracial or Christian Williams or anybody and say, you're going to play edge. You're going to play edge now.
All right, so let's run through some of these questions. Anthony wants to know, do you think Mevis will get drafted? So I did a draft show with Eric Edholm earlier this week. Encourage you guys to go check it out. Eric is kind of an encyclopedia, but we agreed Darius Robinson, Ennis Rakestraw, Chris Abrams-Drain, and Javon Foster, guaranteed draft picks. Those 4 guys we know are getting drafted.
No hop?
Well, we put Hopper, Jalen Carlisle, Mevis, and Cody Schrader in the do you think they get drafted or not? And we said 2 of those guys, maybe 3. I don't think they all get drafted necessarily. Hopper's tough for me. Like, he seemed for like a surefire draft pick last year, and maybe he will be. I just haven't heard his name. He's hurt. I don't know. We'll see what's going on. But to answer, so of those 4, because Anthony asked about Mevis, but those 4, kind of, what do you think?
Instant thought was Hopper. I think Schrader can play his way into late round pick. You just because at that point people are taking flyers anyway. So right. And then Mevis, I can see it because I don't know. Recently, does it not feel like kickers just a little bit are starting to get drafted a little bit more? I mean, Jake Moody for the Niners was pick 77, I believe.
Right, and then the Patriots took some dude in the 4th round, and he was awful all year.
Yeah, I'm not saying it. Was it Ryland? Maybe.
Yeah.
Chad Ryland. Okay, so yeah, maybe it doesn't work, but I'm just saying, as far as just getting drafted, maybe that's something. Although I feel like if I was a kicker, let me be an undrafted free agent. I mean, let me choose where I want to go. But yeah, I don't. The only one I feel, no disrespect, that I don't think may get drafted is Carlisle. Although again,
Combine's going to be big for him.
Yeah, if they find out, like if they're saying let's move you with the linebackers or we can get some, then it's a different situation. I'm just talking strictly as strong or free safety or wherever you want to put it back in the back pocket.
Yeah. Ron Davis, what games are you looking forward to most for next season?
It's easy for me.
Is Alabama?
Bama, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Easy.
Mine, which one are you looking forward to, is always a road game, just because, like, it's something different, right? I mean, look, I'm not going to tell anybody that the UMass game is the greatest game ever or anything, but hey, at least it's a road trip we haven't been to. But Tuscaloosa's a cool experience, and it'll be interesting to be down there in the first post-Saban year. But it's a really good place to watch a game. It's got to be Bama, I think, because I've been to College Station, and I don't know, Tuscaloosa is better. It's
Oklahoma. Also, real quick, I've had people say, like, Gabe, don't send Jarod to UMass or whatever. Like you said, I'm kind of like, the game won't be all that great, but it's like I don't ever get to go here.
Right. Go to Boston, have some fresh seafood. Maybe the Red Sox still playing. Be all right, man.
Yeah.
Logan, do we know if the spring game will be televised? I think they all tend to be on SEC Network at some time, but the truth is we don't even know if the spring game is going to be a game at this point. I mean, it really kind of hasn't been the last couple of years.
Yeah, I forgot what last year's catastrophe was. Maybe it was too cold or something about people. Or I can't remember. It was a year ago.
I was in Sacramento last year, and so they moved inside. I know. I think
they
it was
moved
snowing.
it. They moved it inside, and even then, it wasn't really a spring game.
Right.
It felt like kind of like a scrimmage type thing, but like a simulation where they would stop it and say, "We want to do this, we want to do that." It didn't feel like it didn't have a flow to it, basically.
Yeah. Connor, can you talk safeties? Interested to see who will start alongside Charleston.
That's a good one because I feel like that's similar to the defensive ends in the fact that like you have a number of options you can go to, but I don't know exactly where you're like we're pegging that person. I mean, the first one off the top is Marvin Burks, Trevez Johnson and Sidney Williams, the vets who played.
Sidney Williams really played a lot in the bowl game, and I felt like the last 2 weeks he started playing a lot more.
Right. It's probably going to be Trevez Johnson now that I said it out loud, though, because I just feel like he was, safety number 3 or 4 or whatever, first guy off the bench type of guy, or starting all of last year. Probably not. But I would like to see someone, maybe a Marvin Burks or Philip Roche, these guys that they were really high on towards these. Maybe you want to see one of those really talented guys get an opportunity, but we'll see.
Yeah. Man at arms, what about the DTs? Seems like much more of a question than the defensive ends. Do we agree with that, or do we think defensive end's a better question? I'd have to look. Defensive tackle, I mean, we know Christian Williams is there. I guess what? Chris McClellan, Marquise Gracial, Jalen Marshall. Am I missing somebody that's in that rotation? Am I missing another transfer or anything? Oh, Sterling Webb from New Mexico.
Okay. To be honest, I
kind of agree. Looking at those names, I think defensive tackle is a bigger question mark for me.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. I think when you say McClellan, I'm instantly thinking plugged in. Like Williams, McClellan. That's how now obviously, like everything else, gotta see what happens in spring ball and fall camp, all that other stuff. But I just kind of say, okay, top 2 defensive tackles, but defensive ends, I mean, you're talking about your pass rush. And the good thing about defensive ends is you have the options. I think when you're talking about defensive tackles, if you're saying like option-wise, what do we really want to go to? Who's going to be our, second string guys? Because second and first string with defensive tackles, we talk about it all the time. It's a, rotation. They all play the same amount. So,
yeah. And Connor brings up Kai Montgomery's name. I'll be honest, man. It would surprise me. Look, things happen. Guys surprise me. If he does, great. It would surprise me. Let me throw out this name that I think we're kind of forgetting about. Sam Williams, guy that redshirted last year. He could get a shot. He could surprise us.
Yeah.
There's a lot of what, like if you just say Williams on the defensive line, you probably got it
covered. Yeah, Sam Williams. I mean, he was, at least since I've been here, he was the first, recruit signing or whatever that Drink was like, this is the defensive tackle we want to get, like the bigger guys that we can plug in for his continue, his future tenure, whatever you want to say. He was like, that's the first time I heard him say we want a big guy like this to plug in. So yeah, maybe a Sam Williams gets that opportunity. Yeah.
Anthony wants to know better or worse than 9th in the SEC. Here's a better question, I think, because we have no idea, right? Who's better and who has a better defense next year, Missouri or LSU?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. I just thought of that just right on the fly, man.
I'll stick with Missouri. LSU have to play. They have to do some work with their personnel, and they're also learning a whole new system. But we'll see. I'm not gonna act like I know LSU defensive personnel like that. But when I remember last year, something was off, and that may have more so been on the defensive coordinator than the pieces. But they got to fix some stuff.
I'm going to go Missouri because I don't know what LSU's schedule is, but I bet it's tougher than Missouri's. Because I think Missouri's is relatively easy when you're talking about the SEC. All right, last thing. This was a big subject on the board. We'll finish up with this. You in favor or not in favor of 9 SEC games?
we're doing the way, what was it? The three common opponents, or not common opponents, but rivals.
Well, yeah, I think if they go to 9, it'll be that. But I mean, they're talking about they've got 8 SEC games. They're Chris Del Conte, the Texas defensive or Texas AD, said last night, I guess, hey, we're talking about it for like 25 or 26, going to a 9-game schedule. For or against?
I'll say, yeah. Personally, as a reporter, I'm not trying to sit through 4 games of I'm going to beat this team up for fun so I can look cool. I don't care. I want to get straight to it. Because what were we talking about this first month of the season? Like, they're just playing, regular team after regular team.
We're trying to get fired up for Boston College in Columbia in September. Season doesn't really start till October.
And when do they play Boston College? What week is that?
I think it's week 3.
But I'm telling you, in week 3, I bet you I'll be excited for it because it's like at least it's a power.
Right, you've heard of them.
Yeah, but it's not going to be that.
Right. No, I agree for the same reasons. Like, look, does it hurt your chances to win a national title? You maybe lose another game, sure. But if everybody's doing it, then it doesn't hurt. And I mean, then you can afford a loss. And we should be doing this for the entertainment of the fans. What's more entertaining for the fans? Good games. Less Murray State, more South Carolina. I'll make that trade, 110 times out of 100. So, and I feel like, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I also feel like, teams and fans of teams, they seem to be more pessimistic when it comes to like doing something like this. And I'm a glass half full guy. So I'm thinking, instead of thinking, a loss could hurt it, you put that extra SEC team on there and maybe you have one of those losses, that's not good, but now you've beaten an extra SEC team and you feel good about yourself and you got that instead of saying, it's an extra loss automatically. Don't know.
Right, because what did beating Middle Tennessee do for Missouri's season last year? Nothing.
Well, it didn't do anything but make me look good. And I'll take that game. I'll take that one.
It made pretty much everybody else angry. So
it doesn't do nothing for those guys.
All right. Well, I got to say, man, I feel like Drew's getting shortchanged. I feel like we should bring him back on so you guys can fight it out here to end the show. But Jarod got the last word. But look, the last word actually always goes to our friend James Carlton, State Farm Insurance in Webster Groves. Get in touch with James at carltoninsurance.net. We made sure to read his information at the beginning of the show because if you've made it 57 minutes here with us, guys, you get, man, way to go. If you made it through all this madness tonight and random talk, good for you. But carltoninsurance.net, 314-961-4800. Get in touch with James. Carlton Insurance on Facebook. Like I said, I'm talking to James next week. Drew already has James as his insurance agent. If you live in Missouri or Illinois, get in touch with him. Information ran across the bottom of the screen if you're watching on YouTube throughout. If you are still here, like, subscribe, comment, all those things before you leave. If you're listening on the podcast, leave us a nice review, say good things on social media. Hang on. Here you go. Last word, Drew. What you got, man?
I don't know, Jarod. What were y'all talking about before? I just heard we could bring Drew back on.
I just said I felt like you got shortchanged. You deserved the last word here.
Because, as if he wasn't talking for the first 30 minutes. I don't think he got shortchanged at all.
All right. Well, you had your shot, Drew. No last word.
All right. Sorry.
Rod took it over. Appreciate you popping back in. All right.
Nope.
We'll see y'all later. Have a good one.
Oh, man.